There is blind justice, and then there is trading justice, so that you can finally afford to get that laser eye surgery. Not only will people find you more attractive once you ditch those old glasses, you'll be able to see your charts better. That's what we call win-win. Speaking of winning, it's time for a little trading justice, brought to you by TackleTrading.com.
Okay, welcome out to the Trading Justice Podcast. This is your host, Tim Justice, here from TackleTrading.com, and we've got one of the coaches, one of my colleagues, one of my friends, Noah Davidson from Tackle Trading. Noah, how are you doing today?
I'm fantastic, as always.
As always, yeah. You actually usually do have a pretty good attitude.
It's all about the attitude.
Yeah, for sure. You know, I wanted to invite you onto the podcast here today and talk to you a little bit about your perspective, maybe kind of what you're seeing out there with our team at Tackle Trading, what you're seeing from some of the students and all those kind of things. The first thing I want to do is kind of give you a little bit of a formal introduction. You know, Noah, you've been in the markets, in around the markets in different capacities now. What, about 15 years?
Wow, don't make me count. I've been actively trading or attempting to from the late 90s. I got really caught up in the excitement of the dot-com boom. At the time, I was selling computers for one of the major players back in the day, and about every fifth computer I sold was to some Yahoo who wanted to day trade Yahoo. And we had special computer systems that were all powerful with really fast 26.6K megabits per second modems, you know, all the things you needed to connect online and actively trade. And I started out and I got in the markets and I promptly lost all my money and learned how not to do it. But after that, I wound up, you know, jumping from job to job and got hired to sell software for a trading firm, or a firm called Metastock. They made trading software. They were kind of one of the original technical analysis platforms, literally the original technical analysis platform. And I learned how to do it the right way. And the rest of it's been an incredible journey for me. Really started figuring out how to do things well in around 2003. And it's been just a learning process. I mean, I can still consider myself a student of the markets, and always looking for new ways to think about the markets, new strategies, new trading ideas that can give me an advantage, because the markets have even evolved and changed in the time that I've been trading. I mean, it's a constantly evolving market, and a lot of the concepts and things that I've learned over the years have been stable and the same, but markets have sped up. There's been a lot more automated trading added to it. Frequency of trading's gone up. My type of trading's changed a little bit. Just some of the things that I've witnessed in, you'd think 15 years is a long time to be trading, but in reality, it's kind of a short period to be trading. But I've been participating in the markets for the most part since they really went online.
Yeah. I was thinking about that time frame 15 years ago, and the rapid acceleration of technology and the use we have just as regular people with that technology in our lives. Financial markets are just one example of that. But what are some of the biggest differences from when you started trading to what you can do now?
Boy, well, when I started trading, I kid you not, the fastest connection to the internet was a 26.6 kilobit per second modem. You remember those. I was so excited for the 36.6 and then the 56K modems. Wow, blazing fast. Your stock charts would update eventually. And, I learned how to trade on a really basic brokerage platform. I hadn't even heard of a stock chart. I knew how to look up a quote sheet where you could see like the bid and the ask. And I was picking stocks fundamentally. And read like books, like by Warren Buffett type stuff, like trade what you know, invest in things you understand. And so I managed to pick dogs in a bull market. I mean, the late 90s, it was like shooting fish in a barrel. All you had to do was pick a tech stock or a .com stock, and I picked the wrong ones. I picked the things that I thought I knew something about in the technology market. I was in computers and the components and the hardware, and I thought for sure, this will be easy. My goal was to be retired by 30, And I literally blew up my first trading account by investing in a company. And it went from this is a good company to, oh, it's a great company, they'll be back. They've got a good product. They've got good market share. Oh, the CEO's back in town. He'll save the day. And watch the stock, bought it at 40, ran up to 80, it dropped to 2, and it never really came back. And eventually got bought out and delisted. So lesson learned. It was a very expensive piece of tuition, but just kind of one of those things where I don't know why I kept doing it. I'm a pretty stubborn guy. I guess, I wasn't going to be told what I could and couldn't do. And I did a couple things. I actually, at one point in time, sold my car so I could take classes and get training and learn how to do it again. And I walked to work for a couple of years or rode my bike just so I could have the funds to trade again.
Yeah, and it's interesting hearing you tell that story. And I think a lot of traders have had similar stories where when you're new, you get stubborn and you hold on to something that you're not supposed to. Your rules tell you not to. But you're new and you've got all those emotions in there.
I didn't even have rules that told me not to. Hope was my strategy. It was kind of like I, just randomly picked the stocks and that's it. I mean, I literally picked the stocks based off of the names I knew and what I understood about the industry. But other than that, I honestly didn't know stocks could go down that much. I had no idea that, a company could literally go down to, from a main player to a $2, penny stock. Hadn't even crossed my mind. I was unaware of that potential risk. And it was a bit of a rude awakening. And, I've certainly since then decided that it's better to have rules and to have a clue as to what you're doing. But that still didn't prevent me from paying more tuition to the market. It really wasn't until I got with some smart mentors and people who could help me work through some of those bad habits. Because I don't think that people, when they set out to trade and invest, necessarily are wired correctly to be successful traders. I think people say, oh, it's common sense. I actually think it's uncommon sense that makes people successful as traders, and that it's incredibly valuable. If I'd had access to a site like Tackle Trading early in my trading career, would have made a big difference for me just to be able to hang around with other like-minded people, because I was kind of in a silo learning how to do it myself. And, I was a little bit of an autodidact where I read about every book I could get my hands on, and I studied all kinds of things on my own. And even after I had some training and mentoring, I still felt like I was kind of in a silo. I had a trading office in my home down in the basement. I called it the Bat Cave. Whether or not I was wearing a super cape and tights we'll leave that to your imagination. But it was a kind of a lonely journey because I didn't have other people to talk with about it. Like, I could talk to some of my friends about some of these things, but I'd be clueless. They'd be like, "What are you talking about?" I don't know what slowing momentum. I have no idea what a technical setup is. I have no idea what a stochastic is. They just don't speak the language. And so when you don't associate with people that are speaking the same language, have similar goals, you really are pretty much on your own. So that's what when I originally actually came up with the idea for Tackle Trading, I came up with the name for the site. I want to say 2009, 2010. While I was, definitely steeped in the culture of trading, and I had a lot of great experiences in that time, and I was doing pretty well with the trading, and really kind of found my niche. But I was wasting plenty of time on the internet with sports, like fantasy football and college sports and fan sites, and just it kind of struck me that I was wasting plenty of time on the internet, and I was wasting plenty of time on the internet and trading. And I figured if I could combine those two passions, I could have the world's best time suck ever, which would be something that would make me money, something that I could throw my time and effort into and have fun doing it, enjoy the online company, if you will, because social media has really connected us quite a bit, where we can reach out and talk to other people who have similar interests and similar goals, and it can motivate each other and share that passion. Whereas I can have my regular friends and family and people I love, and they don't have to hear about stochastics and MACDs and moving averages and what settings I prefer. They don't care. So that's what I have Tackle Trading for.
Well, and I think it's a really interesting part of your journey and your story is you had this concept, you had this idea, and then you brought some of your friends in, your colleagues, to help you build it out together. That's where Matt and Gino and myself came in. And what made you want to do that? What made you want to bring other people into your business and help you build that business out?
Well, one, I had been sitting on it for a couple of years, the idea myself, and had not actually gotten any momentum going. And one, I mean, it was just one of those things where I was very much interested in building and creating my vision of what I wanted Tackle Trading to be. And I already knew, people like Matt and yourself and Gino, from our association and friendships together, that, you guys were on board with that same kind of stuff. And so it really is more for me about having, not doing it alone, because the more people I could get around it, the better off it was going to be. And so, I found the right kinds of guys to work with, and that's, a compliment to you guys that I was able to bring. It's just an idea. And that's the thing, is it could be the best idea in the world, but unless you actually execute it, you're not getting anywhere. You're not really creating anything. And so, left to my own devices, I had enough stuff going on in my personal life and some random challenges and things that were just keeping me slowed down from where I really wanted it to be. And that's where, having people who can share in that vision and have the same passion for the same stuff I do, have the same interests, that can talk about, monetary policy and trading ideas and understand the concepts of time decay and Vega trading. It was like the perfect marriage. So that's kind of where I'm inviting you guys to help execute my vision, really became our vision. And it's been a tremendous journey as we've all kind of partnered up in this and taken different roles, different leadership roles, different places where I think at this point in time, what I do is provide comedic relief and keep us from being so serious all the time. So
you're the Bob Newhart. I like it. Oh, that's funny. I'm a big believer in team, though, Noah. One thing that I've learned over the last 10 years being a teacher and watching people try to do things either alone in a silo or bringing other people into their life is you're much more likely, if you have the right attitude and you build the right team, to be successful. I think some people have a flawed mindset where they worry about, this and that. They worry about the wrong things. And really what you got to do is you need people in your life. You need people to do all kinds of different things in your life. This, whether it's emotionally or business-like or anything, I mean, it's really hard to get through a business or even life itself alone. And so I think it's best. I love what you did. And we all do have the same vision, and I'm excited about what we're doing over there. I do want to go back to some of the changes you've seen in the market and also even just from just a basic level. When you started trading, there were not a lot of websites like tackletrading.com. In fact, if you wanted software, you kind of had to pony up quite a bit of money to even get charts and data, right? What are the big differences you're seeing there? And is it really that big of an advantage for the new trader, or how do you see all of that?
It absolutely. If you really kind of stop and you look at it, it's the thing that technology has really done is leveled the playing field. And that the idea of the playing field in trading is one of the chief visions I had with Tackle Trading, that I really do see this as a game. That yes, it's money, yes, it's financial, but markets. But at the same point in time, who used to have the information and who used to control the game was the brokers and the big institutions, because they had the access to all the information. And if you wanted to participate in the markets, you had to go find that guy that had the big corner office and charged you $100 commissions to buy and sell stuff. And people didn't have access to the types of tools, information, and leverage. And that's really, I had a really interesting random conversation one day, Tim. I was over at my parents' house helping them, do some fall cleanup, raking up the leaves and whatnot. And my kid brother came over and says, "Hey, next door neighbor, Pete, his name's Paul, wants to talk to you. I told him he did stuff with the stock market. He was interested in learning what you did." And this guy happened to own one of the largest brokerage firms in Salt Lake. And he ran a very successful brokerage firm, and that's what he was. He was a big-time stock broker. And when I told him what I did. I said, well, I teach people how to trade. I teach people how to trade technical analysis. I run seminars and classes and basically empower people to learn how to trade by themselves. And he got really, really grumpy with me and said, you guys ruined the stock market. And he's an older gentleman in his 80s at the time. And I was like, well, I'm sorry I spoiled your party. Nice to see you. Got to go. But it was just, that's really the case. It's put the information into the hands and the access to anybody. And if people are not getting into the game and they're not participating, it's really on them at this point in time, because at no other time in the history of the world have people had access to these types of tools, information. Even just when I started, trading and investing just over 15 years ago, you could get onto the internet and you could have a brokerage account. You could even place a transaction on what were called discount brokers, which for the first time, commissions were not an arm and a leg. And this is where we started seeing the companies like E-Trade and Scottrade and a handful of these different discount brokerage firms come up and kind of give people the ability to do so themselves. But not one of these firms offered charts. Not one of them offered research. Not one of them offered any capabilities. And to get that information, you would have to go through different vendors, different providers. And the company that I wound up getting hired by, just randomly, incidentally, they hired me because I had sales experience and investing experience. I left out a few details about how much money I lost investing. And they hired me to sell software, and the software program, Metastock at the time, was around a $1,700 software program, and it cost about $200 a month to run the data through it. And it was pretty expensive. It was really a complicated program to run, and it was the type of thing that investors and people who were interested in trading would gladly pay for, because nobody else had that information. Nobody else had that data. And so, you could go get it. Now, since then, it's become more of a marriage between brokers and service providers that offer data and charting and research and fundamentals and whatnot. It's a lot easier for us to find access to that information these days.
Yeah, for sure. Talking about that guy, that made me think we all know that guy. And it may not have to be with trading. It's with something, though. You ruined the cell phone market, or you ruined the phone market by introducing cell phones, or you ruined this. I mean, technology comes along. Information becomes faster, more accessible. People change the way that they do business, and some people get left behind. We know plenty of people who work through all of those different markets and have adapted and thrived. But some people just could not adapt. And I don't think it's a stock market problem. It usually is a human behavior problem. Some people just don't want to change.
Well, Tim, and
absolutely.
By the way, I'm joining here. I've been listening to you guys talk for the last little bit. Good conversation. I just want to say one thing on that, Tim, because it's an important point. You can't stop technology. Technology is going to evolve. And you're either going to learn to adapt and grow and evolve with it, or you're going to be left behind in every capacity, whether it's from if you own a small business and you still don't, how you take payments and whatnot. Things evolve, and people who have the ability to put forth the effort, evolve with the market, evolve with technology, you're simply going to have a leg up on everybody else. And it's not just the financial markets, it's every type of business out there. Mm-hmm. And that's a good thing. And technology makes our lives a lot easier and simpler. You just gotta, you can never get to the point where you stop learning, and that includes technology.
Oh, absolutely. And so, and some of the things that I've seen over the years just evolve in the trading market, the fact that I can, place trades from a handheld device like a smartphone or a tablet has really freed me up. I used to feel a little bit chained to the market. During market hours, I would literally feel like I just couldn't leave, especially when I was doing higher frequency day trading and swing trading. And even though I had managed to quit my day job and create freedom for myself and some financial freedom at the same point in time, I felt like the market was kind of my master, if you will, because I had to stay put during market hours. And then I started trading currencies, which is 24 hours a day. And my now ex-wife used to say that the market was my mistress. And so, because I was constantly paying attention to it. The technology has really, freed me up. It's created the ability for me to not have to sit in front of the markets all the time, to be able to set up alerts, to be able to set up, the automatic trades. So you just don't have to be sitting in front of it. And it gets easier and easier and easier with just some of the things that these the smartest guys in the room have been able to create for us, and it's worth every penny we pay them. Just to create that freedom.
Well, I'm all about what you're saying right there. Absolutely. And it is freeing us up. You can jump on the train, you can use your smartphone, and you can place your trades. But even beyond that, with the advent of really, interesting algorithmic based trading systems, even retail traders are getting access to tools that, we just did not have a while ago. There's another area I think might have rapid and radical technological change, and that even is just the currency market itself. I could see an environment in 5 or 10 years, Noah, where we think about money completely different than the way that we do now. So there's a lot of things coming down the pipeline in that regard. I do want to talk about a few other things, though. I'm going to change topics here for a minute. One of the things I find most fascinating about you, Noah, is your ability to create things, including classes and content and ideas. Walk me through your creative process. I mean, how do you know when you're in the zone? How do you know that you can get things done? Because I know how that goes too. I've done that myself. Just walk me a little bit through how you go about building new ideas out.
One, growing up in school, I was quite discouraged by my teachers. I was definitely not the straight A student. I didn't really learn the way that they taught. I didn't learn through reading. I didn't learn through even like sitting in college courses. I just did not learn in that environment. It was not my strongest suit. I did a lot better learning, one, hands-on, interactively, and two, I'm a very visual thinker. I'm very much more right-brained than I am left-brained and analytical. And this industry, when I first met technical analysts, the first 4 letters of the word analyst ought to give you a clue as to what's going on in their mind. They're all checklist, detail-oriented, mathematically oriented, and that was a little bit outside of my natural comfort zone. Now I was able to learn those things and do those things, but I had to approach it from how can I understand this process, which also it dawned on me that, well, if I can understand this, then I could certainly help other people understand it. Because, half the population is not going to be left-brained. They're going to be more right-brain oriented. Half of the people are going to be more visually oriented. Some of the people are going to be more audio oriented. And lots of people are going to be kinesthetically oriented, where they just have to be able to see it, do it hands-on. And so, going through and teaching, I actually spent a lot of time studying education, studying learning, so that I could approach it from a reverse engineer. You kind of think about, well, what's the end product look like? Well, my end product looks like people successfully trading, people being able to take the concepts and being able to implement them successfully, being able to actually trade and understand what they're doing, why they're doing it. So, if the end game is to get people succeeding, then what did it take for me to get from point A to point B is kind of how I approach it. And I have to be able to put it into something where they can understand it first conceptually, then you can break it down into steps and then processes, and that they can then tackle and execute.
Matt, I'm going to bring you in on this as well. When you're creating, because, I think all three of us, being teachers, educators, mentors, speakers, entrepreneurs, writing business plans or PowerPoints or books or doing videos, what are your similarities to what Noah just said there, and what are some of your differences?
Well, it's going to be fairly similar, but if I had to say, kind of going off with the right brain, left brain, you got to realize everybody learns in different ways, and you got to be able to create products that can be, met by different people and how they learn. But in terms of creating products, my kind of process is really simple. I think about, okay, as we were going through this, and as we were learning how to trade and learning how to invest and learning all the different tradable instruments, and I remember coming up through this in 05 and 06, and Tim, you came up to the kind of the same time frame, and Noah, you came up a few years before we did. But in terms of coming up through the system and learning how to trade from, the Mike Baddies and the Mitch Pendletons and all the people that we learned from there 10 years ago, it wasn't that they didn't teach good. They certainly taught proper concepts, but I just didn't feel like, the education as we were going through it was that good. Given the fact that everything was segmented, there was no system, one strategy. So, when we recreated the trading system at Legacy Education and Rich Dad, and now as we're creating, similar things over at Tackle Trading, one thing that I've always kind of kept in the back of mind is, what would I have liked to see in 2005, 2006? What would I have liked to, go through, and what type of products would have helped us, helped us out coming through this, from when we built Trading Labs, to when we built Mock Trader, to when we built the trading system, to when we redesigned, the entire system just over the last 6 months, and going through Tackle Trading. Everything we do is based on two factors. Wouldn't this be cool, and what would I have wanted to happen back 10 years ago when we were learning this? And I think what we're doing over there at Tackle Trading is absolutely revolutionary, evolutionary in the financial industry. All the different products we have, all the different updates, everything we're trying to do, all the community, the systems, everything I think is unique and amazing, and it's been an amazing process.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll tell you, I think a lot of what you're talking about there is perspective and experience and time, and not only as a teacher and a trainer, but also a student as well, in many different capacities. Like Noah's been talking, he sold his first car to take his trading classes back in 2000 or 99, whatever it was.
Well, just to kind of go on that, Tim, as you and Noah are talking about kind of Noah's, process and whatnot, I'm literally sitting here in front of all my monitors, and I have the podcast up on one side, I have Tackle Trading up on another, I have I'm charting on the other one every S&P 500 company, and I'm analyzing their trends, in terms of bullish, bearish, slightly bearish, neutral, and I'm going to post it over there at Tackle Trading. So I'm doing quite the multitasking over here. And again, that's why I'm doing this, is just because I wish I would have had it when I was coming up through this system, having, a technician who's been doing it for 10 years, analyze every S&P 500 company from a bullish to a bearish standpoint, and then just sending it out to the group. That's kind of awesome.
Mm-hmm. Something that Matt said that just kind of resonated with me is actually part of the creation process has kind of been, necessity is the mother of invention. And as you are trying to explain a concept or teach a concept to different types of learners, I know that you've had these similar type experiences, Matt. For example, when you created Royd, you taught the concept as you are teaching it. You are learning it in the moment because you understand it so fundamentally, so much at your core. When you understand how markets work, you're able to actually learn from yourself as you are teaching the concept in a new way.
It's amazing, Noah. I mean, that's absolutely amazing, because you're going through it, and you're honestly, when I came up with Royd, it was I'd always kind of taught it, in terms of, kind of the application of delta and cash flow and whatnot. But I was sitting down with a mother and a son, and I was mentoring them in Salt Lake City, and this is probably 3 years ago now. And I was just trying to explain this concept, and all of a sudden I basically brought up, just to explain the concept to make sure that they could learn it, I gave them two examples. Example A, where you sold a 10 delta and you got a 20, well, it was like you sold a 10 delta and you got a 10% ROI, right? So a 10 delta and a 10% ROI. And in another example, you would sell the 20 delta and got a 10% ROI. And if they both have the same ranges, which one's the better trade? And I was just explaining it to them, and they're like, oh, well, yeah, that one's. And I literally said, it's like that credit trade's like Mark McGuire on steroids. And I said, and then I said, oh my God, ROI like my delta.
Mark McGuire on steroids, is that?
Yeah, exactly. Well, we're not here to talk about the past, though. But in terms of, I just, ROI divided by delta, and, that became the indicator, Royd, that, when we're now doing credit trades and not only teaching them, but applying credit trades, or every single one of us, Gino, you, me, Tim, we're all using Royd because it's probably, in my estimation, one of the better indicators to determine, if you're getting enough cash flow for the delta yourself.
Well, and it's that moment of genius, or I don't know if it's inspiration. It's, they say that, genius is 99% perspiration, 1% inspiration. But that moment of inspiration that comes from, one, I think it comes because you're trying to help other people out. You're trying to help share the knowledge and information, because it's not about me. It's not about me creating some top secret, strategy that makes me rich and leaves other people out. It's really more about being able to build and share the information. And for me, this is really much more, I would honestly say it's a calling in life to create not only awareness, but, to help other people tap into this just tremendous source of wealth and potential wealth, and the ability to get in and to access the markets and to approach, making money, cash flow a different way. And, it's that, I think that's why we get that inspiration, is as you're helping somebody else you're trying to share a concept that you understand, you all of a sudden can understand it in a new way just because you're trying to explain it. Mm-hmm. How many times did you explain that concept before that lightning strikes?
Probably
1,000 times before
at least 2 years.
Oh, yeah.
At least 2 years. Just, teaching the same concept without, but not putting it into the proper context. And yeah, it takes some time. But then you had that it's just like a spark. And it's just like, oh my God, that is awesome. And then you're like, and then even after that, it took me probably, another 6 months before I brought it to you and Tim, because I wanted to make sure it was, really, really solid and really good and whatnot. And we're not done tinkering with it yet. There's things that we have to take into account, whether you're using the buying power effect or the true margin, or, I also want to take into account the ATRs away in the time frame you're selling, in terms of all of that as well. But, it was it's that spark you get. But I'll say this as well, there's a lot of great traders out there. Just a ton of great traders. There's not a ton of great teachers who are also great traders. And I think that's what we have over there at Tackle Trading is basically we have this amazing group of, awesome traders who are also some of the best teachers out there in the marketplace.
That was going to be the next and probably last thing I was going to ask Noah. One unique thing about our group is we trade, we teach, we write, we create. We've got a pretty amazing team here. Noah, how have you seen your own personal development as a human being from being a teacher for so long? Because you bring people in and you're there to change the way they think about money, the way they think about opportunity, and you've been doing it now for a very long time. How has it changed you?
Well, one, people always, this is one of those common things, the question I'll get, well, if you're so great at this and you can make all kinds of cash doing it, why are you out here teaching it? And, one is I get paid well to teach, which is a nice thing. It's a very valuable skill to have, and I honestly think it's worth every penny for people to invest in themselves and to get that education. But I'll honestly tell you, there's an emotional payoff that is far more valuable to me than any sort of financial compensation I could get, is that when I see that aha moment in people's lives, I see that kind of light when they get it, they understand it, and I know that it changes people's lives, and I can see it changes people's lives. And I have somebody, like Steve Hoyne come back and visit me in a class and say, absolutely, use the stuff I learned in this class every day, and I do it professionally, and I've been able to quit my job, and I do these things. So that I can, it's changed my life. I know it changes people's lives. It's changed my life. And, that's really, for me, why I do it, why I love teaching trading it's powerful stuff. And it's not so much about being able to buy and sell shares of a stock and make money or control risk or any of those other things. It's the only reason I honestly think trading really is something I'm very passionate about and have found so much interest in, is because I saw very early on the potential for the freedom I wanted and the lifestyle I wanted and the ability to not have to, trade my life in exchange for a paycheck. It's that ability to change, live life on my terms, how I want, where I want, and never have to, the day I quit my day job came down to a very simple mathematical equation. I had some swing trades going pretty well. I was able to duplicate the process, and I had one swing trade made more money in 30 minutes than my entire paycheck of working, 8 to 5 for the whole month, and that commission check. And so I was just like, well, wait a minute. That swing trading thing, that was kind of easy, and I liked it. It was fun. That working thing, I like my coworkers, but I'd rather not show up. And so, I went in for one of these quarterly sales reviews, and I just on the moment quit. And I was like, what gave me the courage to do so wasn't that I had mastered trading and investing. It's just that I understood the potential possibility, and I found some consistency with it, and it gave me the courage to take that huge step.
Mm-hmm. You've been listening to the Trading Justice Podcast with Matt, Tim, and Noah Davidson here today. Noah's a coach at tackletrading.com. He's an entrepreneur, a speaker, a mentor, an all-around pretty interesting guy. Known you for a long time, Noah. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. We'll get this up on our website here soon, tackletrading.com. Get in the game. We do a lot of stuff over there. One of the things that we do that we really enjoy is we're putting out a lot of these reports, the Tackle 25, which I think, Matt, you did some numbers just the other day, and it's just doing really well. We can maybe talk about that in the next podcast. The scouting report, the options report, the commodities report, the Forex report. I mean, we're giving you guys a lot of actionable information, and I want you to get out there and take advantage of it.
Let's talk about it real quick. I got a couple updates for everybody. And I know Noah's got to go, so thanks, Noah. In terms of a couple things, first I want to just say one thing towards what Noah was talking about, the passion to teach people. We all have strong disagreements with Wall Street, Tim. Every single one of us do. Some of the tactics they use, some of the outdated models from a traditional retirement system, and people really, when they're stuck in that model, they really don't have a chance. And we also have strong disagreements with the central bank and the banking system and all of that. And I do believe that if we want society to change, and I desire society to change from a financial literacy perspective, from an investing perspective. We live in a financially illiterate society, and if you want society to change, you have to do something about it. And to do something about it, you have to put forth the effort, and you got to outwork everybody else, and you got to give people an opportunity. And so that's one of the reasons why we spend so much time building these amazing things, and leave our families, to go out and teach seminars, and spend the nights, teaching classes, is to give people an opportunity, to give people a chance to really control their lives. And if we're going to desire that change in society, you have to be that change in yourself. And so there's a lot that we do just because, we have been blessed from a certain capacity, Tim. When we came up with this, I mean, we were small business mindsets, and, I was going to be a lawyer, and, trading and investing and having the opportunity to teach other people how to do that has given us an amazing life. And, we have a responsibility to give that back to people, to give that back to society. And so there's some of that out there as well. But on to the Tackle 25. I'm going to read you some numbers, Tim, and I want you to tell me what you think of this, okay? So I went through, basically, I'm doing another update to the Tackle 25, which is basically the top 25 stocks that are fundamentally strong, that are in different sectors. So it's not the greatest 25, because that might be just in certain sectors. So I tried to get a lot of different sectors in there, get equal representation of the sectors, and a couple caveats. They all had to be, fundamentally stronger than the industry or the sector they were in, and they all had to have liquid options that we could sell, doing covered calls on. And I did some, and I'm getting ready to do another update to it coming out the first of next month. And so I basically, because I just want to wait till after earnings season. And so I was looking at the Tackle 25 today, and I just wanted to do a quick comparison of basically the marketplace in terms of the mutual funds, the S&P, and what this list did. Okay, so here's some data points for you. The S&P 500 since the dawn of the Tackle 25 on February 9th is up a total of 2%. Mutual funds, not including the fees, are around 0. Okay, so that's basically the entire marketplace. Now, in the Tackle 25, the best performing stock on the list is HBI, Haynes Brands, including the cash flow received on the issuing of the cover call, up 21%. The worst performing stock is CDE, which is a fundamentally weak, mining company. But I wanted a mining company on there. It's like a $6-7 company. It's down 14%. But with the cash flow received on the issuance of the cover call, is up a total of 1%. So despite being down 14% in the stock itself, you're actually up 1% by writing the cover calls. The total ROI on growth for the entire Tackle 25 is 32.4%. In the same time frame that the S&P 500 is up 2%. The total ROI on all call options sold, if you would have done all 25, and I certainly didn't do all 25, that's not what the list is, but the total ROI on all call options sold in issuance of the covered call is up 202.5%, an average ROI of 8.1% total monthly cash flow. On there's only 6 of the Tackle 25 that have negative returns with a combination of the growth and the covered call, with the worst one, the absolute worst one with the covered call at negative 5%, and that's Southern, a utilities company. What do you think of those numbers?
I think it's incredible. And I also am thinking about the people who are taking advantage of it and what kind of position that they're in by it. But I'm also, one of the things I'm thinking about, Matt, is there's a lot of people who have access to this information, but they're not pulling the trigger either. And I guess as I'm hearing those numbers, I want to give a challenge out there to anybody listening to this. Trade. Use the information you have. I mean, whether it's the Tackle 25, it's incredible to think about that. Cash flowing the numbers and, just working covered calls. Those are IRA strategies. Those are conservative strategies. Anybody could use them. And I'm sure there are a lot of people out there that could. Now, and here's an important mindset in life. Don't worry about what you missed out on last. Start thinking about how you're going to change if you're not getting in there and getting in the game yet. What are you going to do to start taking advantage of this information? But I think it's pretty incredible, Matt, with the numbers, just the simplicity of putting together a good list of stocks that people can work with.
I was absolutely amazed and blown away by the total numbers. And then this other thing I'm doing right now is I'm analyzing every S&P 500 company, okay? And I'm only about halfway through, maybe a little bit more than halfway through, all right? And I categorize them in 5 different ways: bullish, slightly bullish, neutral, slightly bearish, and bearish, all right? Now, about halfway through so far, there are 20 companies that I've categorized as bullish. There are 86 companies I've categorized as slightly bullish. There are 92 companies I have categorized as neutral. There are 84 companies I have categorized as slightly bearish. And there are 17 companies I have categorized so far as slightly bearish. What does that tell you, just in terms of those numbers?
Well, the market's mixed right now, right?
Exactly.
There's a lot going on out there. Different sectors are moving in different directions. I know even I'm going to be putting out the commodities report tomorrow, Matt. I put it out on Thursdays through the week. And I know even in that sector, you've got some mixed information as well, things that are changing. So I think that you're moving into a more muddy kind of picture in the market. But that's where you need to kind of narrow your focus and say, I'm going to do this here and that there, and really kind of get your strategies and your watch list down. One thing I love about the Tackle 25 is it's the simplest thing a new trader can do is build a watch list, okay? And then learn how to go in and take advantage of that watch list. A complaint that I get as a mentor all the time, or not necessarily a complaint, but a challenge people point out to me, is that there's a lot of stocks out there, and they need to narrow their focus, whether it's to get the top 7 currencies in the market and then all of their cross pairs against the major currencies, or get the top 5 or 8 commodities that they can trade, or ETFs, or even the Tackle 25. I love it, though. It's really interesting running these numbers back.
When you start looking at it, it's just like, Wow. What really kind of tells me in terms of doing the Tackle 25 and the analysis of the S&P 500 today, how are people generating any returns in the market right now if they don't know how to sell call options, if they don't know how to sell naked puts, if they don't know how to theta trade? It's a crapshoot right now. Seriously, for any novice, passive investor out there, it's a complete and utter crapshoot right now. That's what it kind of tells me. But for the traders out there who are not solely just buying, but they're buying and selling. For the Vega traders, for the theta traders out there, it's an amazing market. But for the passive income investors out there, it's just I don't know how they're getting it done right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's not. I'm not going to say it's easy but it can be once you're trained. That's it. It's just something that if you just don't have training yet, maybe you feel intimidated by any new idea. But that just should challenge you more and light a fire underneath you and make you want to go out and learn how to do it. If you're out there with an IRA or something long term, if you've got capital like that and you want more consistency, theta trading is critical, whether it's a naked put or covered call. If you want to get into more advanced stuff, intermediate stuff, I'd say vertical spreads and iron condors. Mm-hmm. But Matt, anybody can learn to do that. I really believe that.
Anybody can learn how to trade if they're willing to put in the time and effort. Anybody can. And Larry Fink, who is the CEO of BlackRock, Larry Fink came out and said just last year that the only reason BlackRock, which is one of the largest hedge funds, financial institutions, running mutual funds and whatnot, the only reason they're in business, this is the CEO of BlackRock, he says it's because consumers who are basically passive investors, consumers will never put forth short-term effort for their own longer-term gain. And and it's a sad, but it's a true statement. And if consumers want to control their lives and control their financial lives, it doesn't take a lot. It doesn't. It takes effort. It takes desire. It takes a decision for them to invest in themselves, which is their number one investment. It takes for a decision to invest in their mindset, in their skill set. But it really, on a daily basis, once you learn it, it doesn't take long to actually apply these concepts.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. This is a lot of fun talking about Noah and having him kind of share some of his perspective, Matt.
Great trader, great educator. It's been an absolute honor and a privilege to grow up in this industry with Noah and to have him part of Tackle Trading with us. It's been an absolutely amazing ride. And you think about it, we're just getting started.
Yeah.
I mean, truly, everything we have over there and whatnot, we're now just getting started with where we will be in 6 months, a year, 2 years from now. And if that's where we're going to be, that's where our team members are going to be too.
That's right. Absolutely. And if you are listening to the Trading Justice podcast, make sure that you like us on iTunes, leave a review, give us a 5-star rating. It brings us up the ranks, gets other people out there listening to what we're doing and whatnot. Visit us at tackletrading.com. Get in the game, sign up for the membership and make sure that you're participating and taking advantage of all of these reports. We've got a lot of information coming out weekly. And one thing I'll tell you, if you're out there listening, if you do miss one thing, don't let that sweat you. I was talking to a student the other day, Matt, and he was like, I just can't keep up with all the information. There's just too much good information. It's driving me nuts. And I'm just thinking, it's okay to go to the buffet and not eat every item at the buffet. You can pick and choose a little bit.
Well, and also, I mean, the thing you got to realize, for people who are new to it, it's going to be overwhelming at first. There's no doubt about that. But the more you do it, the better it's going to get. For people that have some experience in terms of trading, or they're part of our trading system over there at Legacy Elite and whatnot, it makes perfect sense, and it's just a matter of application. So it's just a matter of where you're at in your own knowledge level.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
You've been listening to the Trading Justice podcast. If you've enjoyed yourself and think that the conversations and topics we've covered are important, help spread the word. Give us your feedback. 5 stars on iTunes, like us on Facebook, and follow us on Twitter. The Trading Justice podcast is proudly sponsored by TackleTrading.com. Get off the sidelines and get in the game.